electricity was cut off, in a last-ditch move by the panicked regime, Khamenei thought the darkness would confine people to their homes. But that night, the hundreds of thousands of phone lights burning in Punak Square were the final nail in the coffin of the 47-year-old theocracy. This collapse began not with random public anger, but with the street organizing with military discipline under the command of Crown Prince Pahlavi.
When our national revolution triumphs, I am also preparing to return to my homeland, to be with the great Iranian nation. I believe that day is very near.
Prince moved from being a figure observing events from the outside to becoming a commander-in-chief who personally directed the operation on the ground with his latest manifesto. In his historic message, he clearly changed the strategy, stating,
"Our goal is no longer just to take to the streets. Our goal is to prepare to conquer and defend city centers."
This is not advice given to protesters, but a direct military order for territorial control. The streets are no longer a protest area. They have been transformed into military zones liberated by Reza Pahlavi's order. Now millions of people are not just calling for a leader with the slogan, "KHAMENEI'S Shah." They are reclaiming the modern civilization they lost in 1979. Tehran is burning. The army has retreated to its barracks, and the exiled king has packed his bags for his return ticket. On the night of January 10th, the regime pulled the main switches in Tehran, Mashhad, and Tabriz, blackout. This was a classic scare tactic used to disperse the crowd. However, Reza Pahlavi's order from Washington to "don't leave the squares, they are your property," completely changed the tactics on the ground. When the regime cut off electricity and the internet to prevent people from uniting, the people of Tehran saw it not as surrender, but as a declaration of war. Hundreds of thousands of people gathered in Punak Square, simultaneously turning on the lights of their cell phones in the pitch darkness, creating a massive mass of light that blinded the regime's night vision superiority. This act was not merely physical illumination, but a psychological challenge carrying the message, "We are here and we are not afraid," all the way to space. These hundreds of thousands of lights burning in the heart of darkness were the most concrete visual proof that the regime's empire of fear was gone as of that night. Pahlavi's statement that he was preparing to return to his homeland shifted the protests' focus from an undefined uprising to a concrete goal of regime change. This statement provided the leaderless crowd in the streets with a route, a destination, and a vision. People are now fighting not only to overthrow the regime, but also to welcome the king, to clear the roads leading to the airport where his plane will land.
Please, head to Reza Pahlavi. Come to Iran.
The Punak and Jannat Abad areas north of Tehran have completely slipped from the regime's control and become liberated zones for the people. In these areas, where security forces have been forced to retreat, the people have completely halted traffic, turning the main arteries into revolutionary squares. For the first time since 1979, such a large area of the capital is completely free of state authority, and police forces do not even dare to enter the crowd. The complete takeover of Farazadi Square by protesters demonstrates the collapse of the regime's capacity to defend strategic points in the capital. This situation has evolved beyond a wave of protests into an urban war, where the capital is falling neighborhood by neighborhood. At the same time, Pahlavi is telling Khamenei to go to Moscow, to Assad's side, drawing him an escape route and psychologically rubbing his nose in the fact that he has lost the war.
The best message we are sending to Khamenei is that this is your very last chance. You can get up and go sit right next to Bashar in Moscow. Just abandon this country.
Demoting Khamenei from a leader to a refugee seeking shelter is a psychological warfare technique that shatters the regime's intimidating aura. Thus, the geographical spread of the uprising became the biggest factor paralyzing the regime's mobile unit, besiege strategy. Not only Tehran, but also Mashhad, Tabriz, Rasht, Isfahan and Karaj erupted simultaneously, forcing security forces to spread across 31 provinces and creating a major security vacuum at the center. According to OSINT sources, the number of people who took to the streets across Iran on the night of January 10th exceeded 1.85 million, a figure that likely reached 3 to 4 million by midnight due to a multiplier effect. The fall of Mashhad, Khamenei's hometown, and the regime's spiritual stronghold, and the fact that people there chanted Pahlavi slogans, proves that the ideological foundation of the theocracy has completely eroded. Simultaneous clashes in all 31 provinces have disrupted the regime's logistics and chain of command. The people's anger is no longer limited to slogans. It has moved into a phase of destruction that directly targets the state's memory and financial power. The burning of the tax office in Tehran shows that protesters are demanding not only political freedom, but also economic debt relief, debt jubilee. The burning of government buildings, municipal centers, and symbols of the regime signifies that the people have completely terminated their social contract with the state. The inability or refusal of the fire department to intervene while these buildings burned proves that the state apparatus has become dysfunctional. The municipal building in Karaj being engulfed in flames is a clear sign that the authority of local governments has been reduced to zero. This enormous crowd in the streets has one common language and one common leader, Reza Shah Pahlavi. Slogans in favor of the monarchy, once considered marginal, now echo like a prayer for salvation from millions of people from Tabriz to Mashhad. The slogan, Kaved Shah, long live the king,
I'm more than ever ready to step in Iran as soon as the situation warrants itself, and I'll be there with my compatriots to lead the ultimate battle.
Is not just a longing for one person, but a desire for order in the face of the regime's 47 years of chaos. By chanting the name Pahlavi, the people are actually expressing their demand for secularism, modernity, and integration with the world. The fact that these slogans are being chanted at the loudest volume, even in the regime's most conservative strongholds, is the clearest indication that Khamenei's project has failed at the grassroots level. What is critical here is Pahlavi's language towards the army and security forces, which is more in the tone of a head of state addressing his army than a classic opposition leader. By telling the regime forces, "Don't oppress the people, they are your brothers," he aims to break down the emotional barrier between the soldiers and the people. The prince's strategy is not just about taking to the streets, but is based on hold and control. This directive transformed the protests from hit-and-run actions into a military doctrine aimed at establishing permanent territorial control. The fact that the people have taken over points such as Farazadi Square, set up barricades, and refused to leave shows that this strategy is being implemented to the letter on the ground. Pahlavi wants safe zones, i.e., safe landing areas liberated by the people and cleared of police, to be created for his return. Behind this chaotic picture in Iran, a much deeper and more strategic game, a grand bargain, is taking shape. President Masoud Pezeshkian's recent statements point to an internal destruction operation rarely seen in political history.
100 kilometers, 120 kilometers, nearly 70, 80 tunnels were built. We are building 4 tunnels, an honor.
Pezeshkian's statement, "Before the revolution I could buy a motorcycle with a month's salary. Now, with a surgeon's salary, I can't buy one in 3 months," is not just an economic criticism, but a clear admission that things were better before the revolution, during the Shah era. For a president to compare the founding revolution of the regime he represents with the regime he overthrew and imply that the old one was better is a bullet fired from within at the regime's legitimacy. These words are a secret yes answer from the parliamentary podium to the Reza Shah slogans in the streets. This rhetoric suggests that Pezeshkian now speaks the language of the street and, possibly behind the scenes, of the Pahlavis, rather than that of Khamenei. Analysts interpret Pezeshkian's outbursts as an attempt to position himself as the transitional prime minister in the upcoming regime change. At this point, the grand bargain theory comes into play. The existence of a tacit agreement between Pezeshkian and Pahlavi is the most logical scenario explaining the flow of events. When Pahlavi's statement that "we are in contact with the army and the bureaucracy" is juxtaposed with Pezeshkian's statement sabotaging the regime, a coordinated plan of controlled demolition emerges. Pezeshkian may be preparing the chaotic but safe environment necessary for Pahlavi's return by paralyzing the regime's reflexes and breaking the police's power to intervene. In this scenario, Pezeshkian takes on the role of Gorbachev, dismantling the system, while Pahlavi returns as a unifying national symbol. Pezeshkian's references to the pre-1979 era deliberately trigger nostalgia for the golden age in the collective memory of the people. At that time, Iran was seen as the Switzerland of the Middle East. Its passport opened every door in the world, and its economy was growing rapidly. Pezeshkian admits to his own base that the Islamic Revolution brought only poverty and misery to the people, saying, "We had purchasing power back then." This is a strategic communication move. It sends the message to the public that, "You are right to want the Shah back, because even I miss those days."
The Honda motorcycle was 1,250 tomans. Now I'm a full professor of medicine, a subspecialist, a heart surgeon.
This rift within the regime is also confusing the security forces and dampening their will to intervene. No police officer or soldier wants to risk their life to defend a regime that the president criticizes and calls mentally disabled. Pezeshkian's stance is accelerating the abandon ship reflex within the security bureaucracy. The chain of command is paralyzed due to this discord at the top. The police no longer know whom to obey or whom to protect. This explains why security forces remain passive or retreat in the face of millions on the streets. As Pezeshkian himself admits, the root of the anger felt by the Iranian people today lies in a deep longing for a lost era of prosperity and freedom. Pre-1979 Tehran was a modern metropolis with cafes, cinemas, streets where women dressed freely, and universities that met Western standards. Shared archive videos today reveal the vibrancy, cultural richness, and social freedom of that era. When the younger generation watches these videos, they see a life that has been stolen from them, and this sense of loss is the strongest motivation driving them to the streets. Economic data proves that this nostalgia is not an empty dream, but based on concrete reality. During the Shah's reign, the Iranian rial was strong, passports were prestigious, and the middle class was growing rapidly. A civil servant's salary was enough to buy a house and a car. Today, however, under the Khamenei regime, hyperinflation, corruption, and international sanctions have plunged the people into misery. Pezeshkian's statement, "I used to be able to buy a car with one salary," succinctly and dramatically summarizes how purchasing power has evaporated. The regime's allocation of resources to proxy organizations, Houthis, Hezbollah, etc., rather than the people, is seen as the main cause of the economic collapse. Restrictions on social life, combined with the economic crisis, created an explosive mixture. While women were active in all areas of society, the judiciary, the military, and politics during the Shah's reign, today they are oppressed by mandatory headscarves and the moral police. Videos shared online show women wearing bikinis on beaches, skiing, and sitting next to men at university in the 1970s. These images are as distant as a science fiction film for today's Iranian woman, yet they represent a reality she longs for. That's why women are at the forefront of the revolution and refer to the Shah era as the golden age for women. Cultural genocide is another dimension of the uprising. Pre-1979 Iran was the capital of art, music, and cinema. It hosted world-class festivals. Today, however, the regime censors all forms of artistic expression, imprisons musicians, and creates cultural desolation. By circumventing internet restrictions, young people access old Iranian videos showing a society that danced, sang, and enjoyed itself. This cultural memory has become the greatest tool of resistance against the gloomy lifestyle imposed by the regime. The regime has spent years propagating to erase this historical reality, but social media and digital archives have debunked this lie. Even Pezeshkian's inability to deny this truth and his confession show that the regime's historical thesis has collapsed. The people no longer believe the lie that the revolution saved us, but rather the truth that the revolution ruined us. This shift in consciousness reveals that the uprising in the streets is not just a demand for a change of government, but a demand for a renaissance, rebirth. It seems that the endgame has come for Khamenei and his regime. The domino effect theory is working perfectly. The fall of one city triggered another, the power outage triggered greater anger, and the use of violence ended fear. All the cards in the regime's hand, violence, censorship, religious exploitation, have been played, and none of them worked. On the contrary, each move backfired on the regime like a boomerang. They cut off the internet, people took to the streets. They cut off the electricity, people became the light. The disintegration within the regime is not limited to Pezeshkian. Cracks are also visible in the military wing. The fact that soldiers and security forces in some areas joined the protesters in uniform or did not intervene shows that the regime has also lost its armed force. Images of soldiers waving the Lion and Sun flag in the Tehran metro imply that the heart of the army now beats with the Shah. This is the worst-case scenario for Khamenei. No dictator can survive without the support of the army. As a result, events in Iran have passed the point of no return. Millions of people have overcome their fear of death, taken to the streets, chosen their leader, Pahlavi, and declared their break with the regime. As Khamenei's palace burns, the possible alliance between Pahlavi and Pezeshkian may be laying the foundations for a new Iran. When the sun rises in Tehran, we will likely wake up to a very different country, perhaps a modern version of the Iranian Empire once again. The regime is in panic, the people are full of hope, and Iran is on the verge of the greatest transformation in its history. So what are your thoughts on this? Please share your thoughts in the comments. To stay informed about PPR Global's exclusive analyses, please subscribe to our channel and remember to turn on notifications. Thank you for choosing us.